All right. Looks like it's 6 o'clock, so we'll call this meeting to order. Please stand and remove your hats. Say pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome everybody. Tonight, you'll notice that we have 3 board members only present. Myself, Robert Fowler, Chair, Susan Blank, and Don Jordan. We do, however, still have a quorum of members present, so I just wanted to note that for the record. Number 2, action agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda, not necessarily in this order?
So moved.
Second. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Consent agenda. Is there anything that we would like to have pulled from the agenda? I'm going to beat you to the punch, and I'd like to pull the operator's license section.
Mr. Chairman, I would also like to pull the animal control report.
All right. Mr. George, anything you'd like to remove? All right. So with the pulling of the items E and F, is there a motion to approve items A through D on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Blank. Is there a second? Second. Second by Jordan. All those in favor of approving A through D of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. All right. Ms. Blank, you wanted to pull the animal control report. Let's turn to that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you don't have a full report with you, but it's up on the counter. We have on the first complaint under Schmidt, there were loose chickens on someone's yard, and once the animal control went out there, he realized that the person with the chickens, my thing is not working here, I'm sorry, I speak well enough anyway, that they did not have a special permit for these chickens. And this was issued the first part of April, and this is now our May meeting, and the people with the chickens were informed that they need to come to the town hall and get a permit. They have not done so. So I am requesting that a letter goes out to them about these chickens, that either they come in for a permit or they need to be removed.
I just have a question. Do we know if they have been removed?
Not without contacting animal control.
Okay. So there, to your knowledge, there hasn't been any follow-up by the property owner?
No, there has not.
Actually, I think they did. Didn't they stop in last week?
Is that the one that came in to fill out the chicken form?
Yeah.
They haven't
So
paid
somebody came
anything.
to apply for a chicken license, so they are in the process of it at this point.
That's good to hear.
Okay. I noticed that there's a second report about chickens.
From that report, the chickens were loose, they had bad fencing, and Daryl had spoken to them about it. So I guess we'll see in the future if they are contained.
Okay. And I guess my main question is, this is, even though we have 2 reports that involve chickens, it's related to the same properties?
No,
It's not? Okay.
No, they're two different.
2 different properties.
All right. So what about the second person? They applied for a permit?
They had a permit.
Yes, they put up fencing, and it was not sturdy fencing, and so apparently it broke loose and the chickens got out. So that's all that there is on that one.
I guess since they came and picked up an application, I'm hesitant to write them a letter. I think we should give them another month, and then if that's the case, then we can address it. But
I would agree. I didn't get the communication between the office that they actually did come in then.
Yep. It just recently happened. I want to say a couple of days ago.
Yeah, not yesterday.
If they're trying, that's
It
great,
was
that's
yesterday
wonderful.
when Nick came in to disprove it and force it happened. I think that would potentially, I think that's the people.
Yes.
Guys have one.
Yes, that's the person that was coming in to apply for a chicken license.
All right, so with that, is there a motion to approve the annual report for this month?
I'll second.
All right, motion by Jordan, second by Blank to approve item E, the animal control report. No further discussion? Okay, then I would say, let's call a vote. All those in favor of approving item E, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Item 3P is approved. Operator's license, item F. I was told that we had an application for an operator's license, and I don't think the person meets our standards for approving that with, given the history that was run on the person. If you need more detail, I can. Otherwise, I think there's should be in your packet the report. So I'm hoping that you guys read this the same way I do and would entertain a motion to deny the operator license.
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion to deny that operator's license. Due to
Motion
the
by Blank. Second by Jordan. Any further discussion? I would say that, this one's a pretty not even close case. It's just not, I think, the background just does not warrant issuing the operator's license. Any further discussion? With that, let's take a vote. All those in favor of the motion by Blank to deny the operator license, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries 3-0. Committee reports, chairman's report. I note that our two subcommittee people are not here, so they won't be giving a report. I, as well, for brevity's sake tonight, will not be giving a report. Public comment. This is the public's opportunity to speak to items that are not on the agenda. If they are on the agenda, there may be an opportunity at that time. But if anybody would like to share any information with the board, now is the time. If you'd like to do so, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and then we'll give you 2 minutes or so, and you can say what's on your mind. Any public comment? Calling once. Very good.
Melissa 17, just have 2 follow-up questions.
Ma'am, would you mind signing the sheet so that it would be easier for our clerk to put down your name and address, please? Thank you.
Then there's a green button. If you hold down that microphone until the green button shows.
The green is lit.
Okay, very good.
Okay. First comment is, in attending the last month's meeting and reviewing the video afterwards, if I could ask the attendees to please speak up into the microphones a little bit better. It's very hard to hear the acoustics in this room, and even on the playback, it's because of the echo. My second question was, is there any follow-up in regards to the king development on the beef restriction question that was brought up at the last meeting?
Okay.
I'll try to answer that in a way.
Yeah.
By the way, for those of us that are kind of hard of hearing on those films, it's been beneficial for me to hit CC. You have the closed caption when you watch that. That's very helpful to pick up things that you might not hear.
Agreed.
I was here for the kitty proposed preliminary plat.
Okay.
We did ask them to come back and show us how that 40-acre parcel would be subdivided in the future. They will have to come back for a final plat, or a final formal approval of that. So I'm not aware of any additional correspondence that we've had with their consultants.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the follow-up was going to be this month or possibly next.
Yeah, it is not on the agenda for this month, so look for future meeting agendas and it'll be on there, I'm sure. So,
I appreciate the board's time, thank you.
thank you. Any other public comment or anything on your minds? Going twice. One final call for public comment. Last chance for public comment. All right, well, thank you for all those who participated. Item 6, discussion action on approving a provisional liquor license for Soobie Bar and Grill, formerly Louie's Bar and Grill, for June 1st, 2026 until June 30th, 2026, contingent on a successful completion of a fire inspection. Madam Clerk, do you want to give us a little summary of what you have learned about this?
Of course. So Louie's Bar is in the process of selling their bar, and Stormy's Pub and Grub is going to be taking over for them. So Louie's will be ending at the end of May, and then Stormy's will be taking over. Their license, their technical liquor license would be eligible come July, and they're trying to do a soft opening in June, so we are going to be needing to give them a provisionary license so they can do said soft opening for June, so that license will be eligible for them for 2 months, and then within that time frame, their actual liquor license will start on the 1st of July, which kind of concludes that extra month. So they're just looking to get a provisional so they can start business up in June once they take over.
All right, have they given all the required forms, filled out, everything like that?
Correct, I've received everything from them, and money and everything.
Okay.
We are just missing the fire inspection from them, so we did just get Louie's completed fire inspection today, but they would also need to have a fire inspection, and then Stormy's would be contingent on the surrender of Louie's liquor license as well.
So there are 2 contingencies, surrender of the liquor license.
Yep, and then the completed sale of the business.
So 3, surrender of the license, which would only happen, actually 2, which would only happen if they sell, and then contingent on the fire inspection,
Yep.
is that right?
And per the fire department, they can't do that inspection until they take ownership. It'll likely be a pass as long as they don't change anything, but the fire department won't do it until Stormy's actually owns the property.
Understood. All right. Any discussion amongst the board on this item? Just to speed it up, I would like to make a motion then to approve a provisional liquor license for Stormy's Bar and Grill for June 1st, 2026, contingent on the sale of the business to them and a surrender of the license by Louie's Bar and Grill and a successful fire inspection after they take ownership.
Mr. Chairman, I would second that motion.
All right, motion by Fowler, second by Blank. Any further discussion? Obviously then, the provisional license will expire when it expires, and they will have to get that, but I did not make that part of the motion because that's just the law. So, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries 3-0. All right, I want to skip down to discussion action on Lake Malibu drawdown application. I think we have somebody here from the applicant. Sir, if you want to come forward, please write your name down and address, and then ensure that your green light is on and speak into the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board. My name is Luke Meier, and I'm a board member of Lake Malibu Association. I'm joined by Barb Ravens, who's also on the board. And we're here to request your signature on it's a letter of request to the Wisconsin DNR to approve a temporary 7.5-foot drawdown of Lake Malibu beginning in September this year, 2026, until the 1st of May, 2027. And the purpose of the request is to activate the DNR's permitting process. And that process takes a look at existing studies, at the impacts on environment. It looks at, solicits public comment, and at the end of that process, they can approve a permit for us to actually do the drawdown. So that's the essential end step. But that process takes time, and they won't begin that process until they get a letter of request from all of the owners of the dam. And those owners are the town of Hudson, the village of North Hudson, which had their meeting last night and unanimously approved, from their perspective, the letter of request to the DNR. The city of Hudson, and I think you may remember this, but we were here last summer with a similar request, and the action on it was deferred until the city of Hudson could get answers to some questions that their city council had. And those were questions about the potential additional sediment going into their North Bay, questions on total suspended solids going into the St. Croix River, and then there was a public comment worried about phosphorus loading to Lake St. Croix. Okay. And through a series of expanded and additional studies and quite a number of meetings between the city council members, our consulting engineers, Lake Malibu Association members, all of those provisional or previous questions have been addressed. Okay. And we are on the City of Hudson agenda for potential approval on May 18th. And then the final owner is St. Croix County. And they will be addressing this as a management decision, not a policy decision. So no board, just the management decision by the end of May. And there's a time frame for this, but it seems doable by this fall. But it is quite important that we get your signatures to the track.
So if you wouldn't mind, I have a couple questions for you. I gotta hit my green button. There we go. Okay. So the questions were, so we heard, is this essentially the same process that you brought forward before us before to start this process? And we deferred, if I remember right, but it's the same application basically in terms of what you're seeking out of DNR, get all the signatures so they can start the process, right?
It's the same process, right? The one difference is that last time we proposed an 11.5-foot drawdown, we're proposing 7.5. So that's a distinction there.
Okay. And so if you can tell me a little bit more about the City of Hudson's concerns, how they were answered, and the phosphorus that was raised by some citizens.
The North Bay, their concern was further silt filling that in. And we did a lake study, or a river flow study, a mass flow study, with Stantec, our consulting engineers, being the leaders. And what it showed is that, first of all, most of the sediment that moves will be, the larger grain things will stay within the lake and move to the lower, to the deeper sections before the dam. The part that goes over will, yes, there will be some like silty things that go over, but the rate of flow in the St. Croix is much higher than Lake Malibu, so if it's in suspension in Lake Malibu, it will stay in suspension in the St. Croix and move on that. Also, the North Bay is adjacent to this, what we call the side dam. There's a secondary dam, which is not part of the drawdown. It won't be used in the drawdown. So the main dam, I don't know if you're familiar with the structure. There's a surrounding, there's a main dam that everybody thinks of as the dam. and around the corner, there's a side dam that actually empties into that north bay. That dam will not be used during the drawdown, so there's no danger of silting out the north bay. So that has to be, that whole question of silting the north bay needs to be decoupled from this whole drawdown question.
Thank you. What about the phosphorus?
Phosphorus, again, we had, there are multiple studies done on phosphorus, and the study showed what the average phosphorus in the St. Croix River is through that time period a year, and it varies between 5 and 15 milligrams per liter, that type of details. And with the minimum flow in the St. Croix River and the worst flow, highest flow from Lake Malibu during a drawdown, the suspended solids that go in phosphorus that go into the St. Croix stay below the 15 which is the normal of the St. Croix River. And that's also the number that the DNR has said is the acceptable under their rules of total daily load for the St. Croix River, under their new rules of phosphorus reduction.
One of the other things that I seem to recall from the last time around was concern about the impact that this may have on the fish. If I understand right, this is a trout habitat. And there was some concern raised about some negative impacts to the fish. Has the drawdown request from 11 to 7.5, has that substantially changed that concern, or?
Okay, first, let me just make a little correction. It's not, the Lake Malibu does not have trout. Okay, there are some trout in the stream above Lake Malibu. Those are not being impacted by this at all. They're primarily bass and larger carp. Okay, and the DNR has a fish study that is included in this, and we also have history from previous drawdowns that there's little to no impact on the fish. There's plenty of time for them to migrate, there's plenty of water for them to migrate into, and the DNR has actually recommended that a drawdown is the right way to address our problem.
Right. Final thing. Tell us why, in a nutshell, do you think the drawdown is a good idea? What's the benefit?
Okay. In a few words, the Lake Malibu is classified as a impaired waterway by the DNR, and that's because it's what they call eutrophied. It's got too much phosphorus, too much nitrogen, too many suspended solids. And what that does is it causes a lot of algae blooms. It harms the fish habitat, and it makes the water cloudy and smelly. Okay? And that whole process accelerates if you don't do something to fix it. Okay? And that whole thing was really aggravated by a series of breaches of Little Falls Dam between 2015 and 2019, and thousands of cubic yards of silt were washing into Lake Malibu that brought extra phosphorus, lots of solids, we lost a lot of depth. And what the DNR has recommended, rather than our original proposal, which was dredging, use a drawdown. The drawdown has two main things. During the actual drawdown period, it will flush a lot of the main channel silt into the deeper part of the lake. It will, the minute the dry portion of the lake bed is exposed to the air, it compacts. And history that the DNR tells us that they have in other lakes is if you leave it drawn down for the time period we're talking about, it will get up to 60% compaction of the silt that remains. And that gives us more depth, and it creates a new hard pan bottom instead of that mucky, silty stuff. It creates a new hard pan, and it takes a lot of the phosphorus right out of availability for algae. So it will help reduce the algae blooms, and will give us a leg up on that whole progress of eutrophication.
Does anybody else have any questions for me?
very quick questions.
Yeah, go for it.
And I think Water's made one of them. This is really precipitated by the overflow of Little Falls Dam in 2015 and 2019.
Right,
That helped exacerbate the problem.
correct.
Okay. My second question is the Stantec. Is Stantec hired by the Lake Malibu Association, or who engaged them?
Okay, so Lake Malibu Association engaged them as paying the bills, and they are a premier group, and they were recommended to us by the Wisconsin Bureau.
Okay, well then I would echo that. Stantec is an excellent firm. So if they're giving advice, hopefully it's good advice.
Thank you. Yeah. And then just take a little comment at the end here. What we're dealing with this drawdown is the immediate problem that was caused or exacerbated by the Little Falls Dam breakage. There's also a long-term issue here where the lake is getting the massive inflows from the watershed. There are several programs ongoing with the farmers. There's a lot of more work to be done. That's really the elephant in the room. What we're asking for is the short-term fix for the Little Falls Dam extra, but we'll still be looking for long-term work to improve the lake.
Mr. Chair, I'd be comfortable supporting this on behalf of the town.
Let me ask the public. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anybody who's here to voice any opposition to this drawdown? Is there anybody here to voice opposition to the drawdown? Well, I think we should have a little discussion. My recollection was that the last time we talked about this, there was several people in opposition to the drawdown, and they did present an opposing view. And at the time, we did not take action, we deferred. And that's so that Hudson could do their questions that they had. Sounds like North Hudson's already approved it. Hudson will vote on it in a couple weeks. And St. Croix will do it if they want to. So, but I guess, you know, I had some pretty big concerns going into the 11-foot drawdown. It was not fair. And I guess when I saw two kind of competing viewpoints, it's tough to say this one is or isn't. It was before some studies, I understand. The other question, just logistically, since the city of Hudson had more specific concrete concerns with some of their silting and effects, I would like to see how they vote first. Not that we're trying to kick the can, but if we don't have to engage in a lot of fact-finding and debate because it may be moot, then we should wait. So I would suggest, unless there's a different viewpoint on board, but I would suggest we wait for Hudson and perhaps have our clerk reach out to the county and get their take on what their management decision is or isn't leading towards. Just so we have 100% information when we make a vote.
My position tonight, I'm not here to advocate for it.
Okay.
My comments were based on the testimony that Mr. Schneider gave. I mean, if we were going from an option to dredge it to a drawdown with a different approach, and assuming that these issues that the city raised are addressed, then I'm not going to propose it. But if there's more time to make sure that both the county and the city are on board, I just think that makes for a better unanimous decision that everybody's on board to go through.
Right. I mean, I don't want to have us vote and have some potential influence on the city when they have more specific, like I said, concrete concerns. So I'd like to see what they vote on. But I agree, the testimony, that's why I asked the questions. Tell me what the advantages are, tell us a little history, what's changed, those sorts of questions. concerns as I did before, but I would like to see how Hudson goes. So I think we've got the item on the agenda. If we don't do a motion on it, we can put it on next month's agenda. Yes, sir.
If I could suggest that in the interest of time, with that, if we could get approval, this is a letter of request to the EMR so that they can do all of the detailed final studies. And time is of the essence. If we could get your signature, and for some reason the city of Hudson decides not to, you could withdraw.
I appreciate that. I also just have to recognize we're here with a 3-member board tonight instead of 5. And I'd like to give all of our elected officials an opportunity to weigh in on this. So, what's 2 weeks? I mean, we have our we're the first week, first Wednesday in June. So I can't imagine that 2 weeks will throw the whole project under the bus. So what I'm suggesting is that June meeting is maybe a 14 or 15-day delay. And if it's approved that night, I'll sign it on the spot. Okay, so if I won't delay, we already have your form. So if it's approved that time, then I will sign it that night. You'll have what you need the next day. But I think I just want to give everybody on the board that's elected by the people a chance to weigh in on this. And I'd like to hear what Hudson has with their concerns first. So I don't think this requires a motion, but I would direct the clerk to put it on next month's agenda, and we will readdress it. And we'll also direct you to contact St. Croix County to see what their in-house folks have to say about it. And then we can report back, and you can come back next month, and like I said, if it's, it goes the way that we think it's going to go, then you'll have your deal then. So thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate the information and all the studies and things that your association has done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board. If you have any questions in the meantime, we'll be happy to get you answered before the meeting.
And I know you have our email, so. All right, let's go back in order. Discussion action on Bill Turnquist's second driveway application. All right, so thank you for signing in. Before we ask you some questions, I'd like to hear from Ms. Blank and Mr. Jordan, and potentially the clerk on the application, the status of what you guys have seen with item 9s.
Mr. Turnquist, have you applied for a building permit already?
No, I have not, because I was waiting on the variance.
I did go out and look at the property, and from what I see, where you were thinking about putting a shed, you're going to have to take down 2 pine trees as it is.
Yeah.
And McCutcheon, you're asking me to come in off of McCutcheon Road instead of Parkview Lane. McCutcheon is a filtering road. It's not a quiet street like what you're on. And from my observation, there is plenty of room for you to come off your driveway to go to your shed. We do not issue driveways in this township just because people want a second driveway. It's a hardship to get a second driveway. So, yes, you're going to lose possibly some of your landscaping. You're going to have to readjust for that. But I see no reason with the flow of your land that you can't come off your driveway if you want to. So put up the shed, or not put a road in if you're not using the shed all the time, just drive across your yard, you know, if you get your building permit and you can still use the building. So I'd like to hear what your observations were, Mr. Jordan.
I guess I'd just like to broaden the discussion because there's 3 applicants tonight. So you shouldn't feel singled out just because you went first. We have, it's in one of the packets, we have a procedure for requesting driveway permits. Like if you were developing a new lot, we'd have to have a certain size culvert, we'd have to not impede drainage, line of sight, all those types of things. When it comes to a second driveway, they should be much more rare. Otherwise, we're going to end up with dual driveways on every lot that we have. And that's not the intent of what our ordinance is. Specifically with yours, last month we denied one. Tonight, I might have a different feeling on another one that's coming up right after you. But specifically with McCutcheon, you know, that's a collector road, and there are other options that you have to access that. And so with your specific request, I was out there and they had their pictures. I don't think that would meet the standard for us to say, let's start adding 2 driveways for one lot, especially on the country.
Can I back the discussion up a little bit? So is it that, is it more the public safety aspect of why we don't want a second driveway on these properties? And the reason I say this is, before the government does anything, I like to question what we're doing. What's the purpose? What's the reason for the restriction, right? And so is it the board's understanding that one of the primary reasons that we have the driveway restrictions is so that we don't have too much access to high traffic roads that could be a public safety risk for pulling out, etc. Is there any other reasons?
I think the other reason is what I tried to share, you know, we have roads A, B, C, and D. Each one of those used to have a different separation. You know, the county would say, no, your separation is none. You can't go out on the county road. But then as you get into collector roads with higher traffic, it gets more and more restrictive. The safety issue is always paramount. So whether you're coming into a cul-de-sac or you're coming out onto a collector street, we should be tasked with saying, why do you need a second driveway on a 2.5 acre lot or whatever we have as our minimum? Our minimum is 2.5 acres, or whatever your lot size might be. There should be all kinds of possibilities that we should be trying to find to access that additional building without that. Having said that, if there are issues tonight, which we're going to talk about one in particular, but if there are issues that you're in a subdivision, you're in a quiet street, you're up against areas that are not obvious that that's going to be presenting any problem, then I would support that. But I think the applicant has to prove out that, hey, there's other avenues that I have.
Well, sir, let me give you the opportunity then to tell us why that you need a second driveway. Like, what's from your perspective, what is it that presents a unique challenge?
Well, from the very beginning, considering whether to even request the driveway was looking at the dynamics of the property. And if I come in off of the existing driveway, I know that this stuff that I provided you is kind of busy with measurements, but there's a persistent sinkhole that brings me really close to where I would need to turn off of the existing driveway. And that's a concern, and that's something I've been dealing with since 2012. And I have to add fill to that at least every 2 years. And so I've been trying to maintain that. So the idea of driving over that or on the edge of that puts additional risk with, pulling a trailer through there. But considering the idea of if I can get far enough beyond that, if we're talking about
me having to remodel my property to the extent of tearing out landscape that's been there since we bought it and drive up close to the house in order to make a big wide S-turn and then have to make another big wide S-turn to even get to where the proposed shop is. And that's if they give me the variance. If they don't give me the variance, then I have to make it even closer to the house, which means that I end up having to drive that much closer to the house to even get a vehicle turned around to be able to use the shed. That was my purpose. Besides all the slopes and everything else that I have to deal with, that was my thinking in the whole process. Otherwise, I was doing what I could. If I could use the existing driveway reasonably, I didn't have a problem with that. But once I take all this other stuff into consideration, I'm doing these S-turns through my entire front yard and side yard to try to get to the shed and then have to do a big turn. So if I was to make that usable with my existing driveway, I would have to be putting a tremendous amount of class 5 to have a stable ground to be even able to turn on, because this property is soft up on the top there. I've driven through there many times with my truck as it is now, and I have ruts in the yard that I'm constantly filling also because of that. So I would be putting this almost like a parking lot size class 5 there in order to be able to make turns without digging in these deep ruts into my yard. And that's the reason why I came to the proposal of, if I could use this, get a driveway that's a low volume driveway, it's an access that's not used that commonly, but it gives me that access so that I can just get to the shed without having to have a huge parking lot size class 5 area that I can manipulate a vehicle to get a trailer.
I just need a point of clarification. Are you also going to come in and for a variance?
That's so that I can get the building in there next to the house.
Yeah, well, that's another problem. If I'm reading this right, you're 65 feet from the center line of McCutcheon?
Yes, roughly.
Okay, then I'm just doing fact finding with you.
Mm-hmm.
With 9,000 people, anyone else that comes in and wants to build a structure, they have to be 83 feet back from the center line of a town road, not a collector street like McCutcheon.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're asking for a hardship to say, I need to have a variance to be closer to McCutcheon and all the building to go down into the ditch to get to my building.
Mm-hmm.
So I need a variance and I need a driveway permit to do it.
Right.
I'm saying, as a board member, no. As someone who carried the board of adjustment for 12 years, I would say no. You can't have a financial hardship. It has to be a reasonable hardship that you have to meet those standards. So I guess I'm just missing the mark as a board member, why we're even trying to entertain that this might be a viable alternative for us to approve.
Well, any further discussion, Susan? Is there anything else you'd like to say, sir? I'll give you the last opportunity here.
Can I ask a question for the board? So I kind of worked with Mr. Turnquist on this too when he was applying. Some of the other things that you didn't mention, but it's in the packet. The back of your back lot, that's your septic, probably your alternate septic, and there's a significant slope.
Yeah, I don't have any other options on the property to put a building because of their watershed. It's designated as a watershed area, and then in the spring, the back side of my property where there isn't slope, where it's up down on the lowest level, that collects a lot of water every spring. I can get up to 2 feet of standing water down on the bottom of that property. That was my original thought of maybe I could do something down there, but I can't put a building down there. And when the original owner built this, they built the house a lot further to the lot line. And so that took away my options over there. That would have been my preference.
And honestly, I don't want to appear insensitive to your needs tonight. I'm just saying, for the standards that we've come up with for all the years, your threshold is just impossible for me to see how you could jump it. And that lower land that you have, we're going to be talking about drainage when we approve these plats. We look at overall watersheds and where that water goes to ponds. So I'm in complete agreement. As you go west of your house, you need that for the bounce of spring floods and everything else. But I don't see how this is viable tonight.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll come. I'll entertain motions from the board.
I move not to approve the driveway permit for Bill Turnquist.
Is there a second?
I didn't catch you. What was your motion?
I move not to approve this driveway permit.
I will second that.
Motion by Blank, second by Jordan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries 3-0. All right, next on the list, we have Jamie Brunette. If you could just sign in and do the same protocol. I think it's the right spot.
Don, I'll let you take this one.
Okay.
And then I'll take the last one.
Okay. I want to be consistent tonight, okay? You heard my comments about the other applicant.
Yes.
I think there are times when we as a board can approve a driveway permit without going for a variance. You're not asking for a variance for setbacks or anything. We did go out and look at this. This is unique with respect that your proposed driveway would be adjacent to and right up to the line of the NSP easement that goes across the property.
Yes.
We want to make sure that you have the authority. As you know, there's the easement that they have for the pole. Then they also have the swing easement that they have for the line. And you're not allowed to build in or under that swing for safety purposes.
That is correct. We have been working with Excel already and asking for an engineer to come out and review our case, but that will be completely separate than this. They won't, if you disagree with us allowing a driveway, they can't come and approve it. So this was the first step, and then to move on to Excel to approve us putting in just a driveway.
So just if I could restate that, just to understand what you said, if this were to be approved tonight with conditions, then NSP would come back in and look at it in earnest?
Yeah, I sent them the diagram that I worked with Don at Excel. And if you guys approved it and they denied it, which she, in her case, she thinks it would pass pretty easily, because we're about 20 feet outside the easement. So
Your building would be?
Yes.
Your building would be?
And we're just, doing a small, just leveling, if you guys are out there today, but it would be very small concrete, you're not concrete, classified driveway. Yes.
If your driveway itself would be contained completely on your property line?
Yes.
And are you looking at like a class 5 or just?
Yes. Very minimal use.
Okay, you'd have to work with our building inspector to see
Yep.
if he needs a culvert there. I'm not sure if he does or not.
Yep,
Okay.
get everything written up right now.
I think your case is different in looking where your house is in relationship to where your building is, and you're up against a truly industrial
Yes.
easement with restrictions.
Yeah.
So we know as a town how that can protect us with what you can and cannot do there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this seems like an unreasonable request on this issue.
Well, and also it seems to me like the volume of road that this would come off of is significantly less than the country.
You're on a dead end.
Okay.
This effort.
Yeah.
Very low traffic.
Yeah, and your driveway, from what I remember, was very short.
Yes.
You would literally have to run parallel with Zephyr
Yes.
in order to even get back to there, which makes no sense. And because of the low volume and where you're located, I agree with Mr. Jordan that this does make sense.
Yep.
I would make a motion to approve this driveway request with conditions that the building inspector determine whether or not a culvert is needed.
Okay.
And some type of assurance that NSP has looked at this and knows that your building is not in that strong easement that would give comfort to the town.
Okay.
Mr. Jordan, I don't believe that they've either paid the permit
No,
at this time.
we have not paid for a permit yet.
So I'm going to speak up for that one. In talking to Amanda, the building inspector, when I was the former clerk, and talking with her, we collectively agreed that it made more sense, and her and Tony agreed that if this is going to be the route of getting a driveway, instead of going through the motions of getting the building inspector worked up, getting them a workload to get whatever they have to do, getting them to have their plans drawn up, spend that time with Tony, it hinges on getting a driveway, because I would say the majority of people want a driveway to get back to their shed. So Amanda and I, agreed that while this might not be what was said before at the March meeting, coming to the town board first and getting the initial approval, okay, does the driveway work here? Yes. Okay, now you can go to the next step. And the board said yes. Now you guys understand that you can't put a driveway in until you've paid that. That is effectively your permit. And then if there's conditions that the building inspector has, that is also another, hoop to get through to get your driveway.
Yes.
As far as the $50 thing, that was something when people were coming and applying for this. It's not a service that we were doing at the time. It was putting them on so you guys can talk about it. It didn't seem right in the moment to charge $50 to have them come here and say no, and you just throw the $50 away instead of refunding it. That's how I was doing it for at least the last 4 that came through. Obviously, you guys as supervisors, you have the decision to make on that. From maybe a financial sense, I can see why it makes sense to take the $50 first. Ethically, it didn't seem like something that... The understanding was if you're going to have the permit, you're going to pay for it to get the actual driveway in. Doing that before getting the actual approval didn't seem to make sense at the time.
Well, we do collect fees before things are finished, done. So you can take the fee, and if it's not approved, you can hand them back their check. But
And that makes sense, but as the form is written, I think it says non-refundable on it. And that's what kind of that not great feeling of...
again, the board can talk about this, but we should be collecting our fees when people fill out applications for anything.
This is no reflection.
No, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, this is on me. So.
No, I just want to make sure that this gets while he's making his motion, I just have to confirm that I realized that there was no payment made, and I want to throw up a red flag saying this has to be done. That's why I'm bringing this to issue right now, because I want to make sure it's in his motion that nothing goes beyond without this being paid.
Yeah, we can pay that today.
Okay, that's all.
And what we can do is, Mr. Jordan, would you accept a friendly amendment to say that the fee must be paid?
Collect fees, yes, I will. I'll amend that.
And Susan, you're okay with that as a second?
I will second that.
All right, just for clarity's sake, and because it's our first time together, do you need me to restate Mr. Jordan's motion, or do that?
That's great.
Okay. With that fee addition, do you want to restate your motion slowly so that we can get it reported correctly?
My motion is to approve the driveway permit request, subject to collection of any fees, approval of the building inspector as to whether or not a culvert is needed, and evidence from XL Energy that the building and driveway are not in violation of their easement.
You mean NSF, or the railroad, right? Is it Excel's easement, or is
Yes,
it?
it's Excel.
All right.
I believe it's XL.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, do we have that now? All right, very good.
Thank you.
You bet.
We have to
We have to vote on it.
So, you can take a seat if you'd like. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion by Jordan and seconded by Susan, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. All right, so then on the agenda, discussion action on Luke Meier, second driveway application. Come on up, sir. And give me a chance to find the right page. All right. I think I'm on the right page. Susan, you want to take this one?
I'm going to let Mr. Meier state his case before. What is your reasoning for asking for the second driveway?
All right, thank you, Jack, thank you, board. So as a request, in speaking with Amanda, the application process was to get the start of the ability to build a future pole barn on the property as documented on the form submitted with the application. So that's a proposed building site that we have there. As noted, there is pretty significant elevation changes between Lassie Lane and the proposed location, as well as from my driveway, some significant elevation changes, as well as pretty important drainage that comes through the front of the property. And so that driveway is simply to provide access to the future place where a pole barn would be built.
Okay, again, we go out and we check these things. One of the first things that came to my observation is where you're anticipating putting this building, there's a culvert right under Lassie Lane. That road, that culvert goes right under the road and feeds into the area that you're potentially putting the shed. That is a lower area there. To me, that is definitely going to be a water flow area. And there's no way to put a driveway from Lassie to that new building that you're proposing without putting a culvert. So now you've got a culvert coming not only under Lassie Lane, but also running along Lassie Lane to give you that driveway. I understand you said you didn't want to come off your new driveway, but that is not a hardship to the township. I definitely see the red flags with the water flow that's coming underneath Lassie Lane. And again, as I stated, where that culvert comes out onto your property is directly headed to this new building site. Mr. Jordan, I'd like you to see what you saw, went out there and investigated.
I just like to always expand our discussion. Our job is not to always sit here and say no. Our job is to protect the town, 6 miles by 6 miles. But as people move in and move around and pass on, it's important to remember why you have that low spot with a huge culvert on your lawn And that's so that we have overall drainage for the proposed plat when it was proposed many years ago. That culvert has to take that swing of spring floods and everything else. Your submittal package shows, I don't think your building can be approved. Your building is 10 feet below your house. And the reason there's that huge basin there is so that it collects the water and slows it down for the people upstream from that. So and we've talked about this on the board for many years. As you drive around the town, you think it's flat, but it's not flat. We have water that comes from the south end on the south side of the interstate and flows over to County Road UU. So those of us, and I see Liz Molina's here, those of us that have been through spring floods and have seen the transformers underwater, this should not be approved tonight.
Well, I would, I guess, argue that this is the proposed build site, and the driveway would simply allow access onto that portion of the property. If at some point it was deemed that that was a watershed, the ability to push the pole barn further west of the property would be option 2.
Well, the further west would be probably where your little garden house is today. Right?
So that's a movable shed that can be put on wheels and moved, and then the
But
proposed.
we're talking about the topography of your lot. Just like the gentleman from Parkville, you guys aren't allowed to come in and start filling these lowland areas and bring them up to build a building there. The watershed has already been approved with the original plat.
Right, but the second driveway would simply allow access. If this proposed site.
I'm not being facetious, but now you're asking us to let you drive through a flooded area to get to your building.
Well, I would argue that if you came out, you can see the dramatic differences in the elevation. So the ability to have a driveway go beyond where our garden is still going to be above grade, and drainage would still continue to happen.
I'm not arguing with you tonight, sir. I'm looking at your submittal package and your driveway that goes right up to your garage. You have ample room to go on the north side of your house to get to what we call that garden shed in the back, to have your elevation start coming up again. But where you're asking for the driveway to go next to that basin, and where your building is proposed, which is in the basin, we won't approve the driveway permit tonight unless we get outvoted. And I don't think you're going to get a building permit through St. Croix County or anyone else to go, yeah, you're approved to build in a drainage basin, because you're not.
Right, I guess I'm not arguing on any of the proposed building plan, because that is just for the application. What I would have us think about is it's simply a driveway to get on access there, and John happens to be my neighbor. And we do have another neighbor that does have a new pole barn with a new second driveway that happens to be on Doorwind. And so as I noted, there's a number of different properties within our neighborhood that do have a second driveway.
And we respect, we read your application, but as you're seeing tonight, each of these are an individual case. So,
Can I add one thing? So, in looking at your diagram, it seems to me like there's not that much of an elevation change from the midsection of your existing driveway to go straight up to there without having to get a drive.
About 10 feet droppage.
Well, unless this is in yards, it looks like it goes from 874 to 870. 4 feet?
Well, yeah, we've built up our driveway in order to maintain, and we've put an addition onto the property in order to continue to improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood and continue to invest in our home and in the property, and so.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, if you look at where this is proposed, it's almost the same distance that you'd be paving to get a second driveway.
Right, and I guess what I would argue is I've got 3 kids, and we've got kids in the neighborhood, and we play baseball and football, and I really, for future people moving into the neighborhood to have a driveway through the front of the yard really just dramatically changes what that looks like from both the road and for my neighbors, so.
Well, I'm going to circle back. The watershed area is not going to be, I'm not going to approve a driveway in a watershed area.
I guess I would, if I had a feasibility study that said it was okay to put one in, is that a different?
You know what, I'm not gonna argue with you, we'll come to a vote, and that'll be it. So,
I just am having a hard time seeing the hardship here with this one. It's about equidistant from your existing midpoint of your driveway to the road. It's not even tearing up like a landscape. I just have a hard time with the hardship aspect here. Before we would get to the watershed, because that's a requirement as well. You have to demonstrate a hardship. I'm having a tough time seeing it. So I'll give you the last word, like I've done with everybody else. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
It falls on deaf ears, so I'm totally good with all you guys decided.
All right. Is there a motion from the board?
yeah, I will make a motion to deny Luke Meier his driveway permit on 850 Laser Lane, Lassie Lane.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
My only further discussion is it's never nice to say no to anyone, but I do want to talk about the historical thing for 30 seconds. We as a town have had a lot of flooding, and we have assiduously worked with the county on watershed plans, and the one that we approved on Highway 12, we had to redo that road before the lots were sold because of the flooding out there. So there's a reason that we have these watershed approvals in the preliminary plat, and I don't think we should be violating them.
I just want to say that I don't think, to me, the watershed issue was the determining factor here.
Correct.
The elevation change, I think, was minimal. I get that there's a culvert and everything that we'd have to be mindful of, but there just isn't a hardship. So I guess I take a little, I know the historical aspect of water is very important, but anybody has to demonstrate a hardship first before you even get there. And I just don't see a hardship on this application. Ms. Blank, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then we'll call a vote. All those in favor of the motion by Susan and seconded by me, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. All right, discussion action on Soobie Surgeons' status of improvement to business and property. Is there anybody here from Soobie Surgeons? Can you tell me your name, sir?
Keep one.
All right. And if you could sign the paper and...
Green lights on.
All right. So, Madam Clerk, remind me why we added this to this meeting's agenda. Is it in response to the letter we got?
So there is a letter that was sent out to remove transmissions and items on storage rack as of 3/16/2026. And as of yesterday, with pictures, that has not been done. Screening fence hasn't been put up, and that is good until 6/15/2026. And the screening of dumpsters, they will put temporary screening, and that was supposed to be done by 4/15/2026, and that has not been done as well.
Did you check this today?
Pictures in your book were taken as of yesterday.
Yes, sir. Okay. I'm not sure, sir, if you have gathered this or not, but there's a growing frustration on the board with your business. We've had a long process to get you fire compliant, and then we had this cleanup issues. We've had multiple complaints. I just want to let you know that the frustration level on the board is rising. And I know the weather has been unseasonably cold, but it hasn't been, snowing. This could have been done. So I guess my first question to you is, what say you as to why this hasn't been done?
Well, some of it has been done. So the issue of removing the transmissions and engines, that's in a metal dumpster they were all removed and put into a dumpster, a big, large dumpster that's blocking the other dumpsters. And so I'm waiting for the metal company to come pick up that dumpster so that I can access the other dumpsters to, I immediately called the company and so all those transmissions have been put into the big metal roll-off. So they're supposed to come and pick it up, and that will give me access to the other dumpsters that are blocked. I can't even close the lid on one of them, and then I can put the screening up. The rack is in kind of a weather thing. It will take me about an hour this weekend to take down the rack. And then the rest of the items are to be done later on in the month, or later on this summer. So the transmissions and engines are in the roll-off. We did take action on that.
All right, when we sent this letter, when, March 2nd?
Yes. Yes, sir, it's dated March 2nd.
You know, there's 4 judges in our county. I listen to them every day. And they tell every person that comes in front of them, if you're having troubles, just let us know. If you are unable to do something, write us a letter, tell us. I'm very disappointed that we're here 2 months later after the letter and somebody hasn't picked up a dumpster. You know, our office is open 4 days a week. You could let us know that, hey, I'm having trouble, or give us an update. Madam Clerk, former clerk, have you gotten any correspondence?
No, I'm not.
I mean, 2 months is a long time to put transmissions in a dumpster and put temporary fencing. I have a vineyard. I can put up temporary fencing in a weekend. It's not hard. Your neighbors are really starting to consider your property to be an eyesore, and so are we. I'm not here to give you a lecture, but this should have been done by now. And if there was a problem, we're reasonable people, we can listen, but here we are, 2 months after. We don't like sending letters to people, like Mr. Jordan said. We don't want to be the bearers of bad news or interfere with businesses. But when things need to get addressed, they need to get addressed. I'd like to hear from my other board members. What are your thoughts?
When your neighbors are complaining and coming to the board, they're asking for us to do something. And we are trying to work with you. But again, as our chairman has said, we feel, no, we do know that you're not communicating with us that there's some, like Mr. Fowler said, some type of hardship why this lot hasn't been done by now. And I know it was a very long process just to get the fire inspections done. So it looks like a pattern to us. So my question to you is, how do we change this pattern to let you as a business go forward without hurting the rest of our community, seeing that you're dragging your feet? We need a commitment from you, and a serious commitment. These dates are dead dates. We expect them to be fulfilled unless, again, there's some reason that you can't come to the town hall and say, hey, I need another week, I need whatever. So I need to find out, like Mr. Fowler said, why exactly this can't be done by tomorrow.
I can have the dumpster, I'll call the dumpster companies and have them removed. I'll remove the rack, so that will take care of those items. And I'll carry my garbage off to someplace else until I can put the screening on.
And what kind of a time frame are you letting us know that this is going to be done?
Well, like 12 weeks the date that they give me, because I'm certain that they're not, waste management saying immediately, they'll drop it on tomorrow morning. So I would expect they would come as quickly as they can.
And are you willing to confirm that date with the office here so that we know for sure that this has been done?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Jordan?
I don't have a lot to add. I'm new to this board. I know two of our supervisors are not here tonight, but I see in the background data that this process has been going on since February and beyond. And it was stated otherwise tonight. There's a reason we have standards, and there's a reason we have zoning, and there's a reason we need enforcement. Otherwise, we wouldn't have approved these buildings in the first place. That's what the people of the town want. So you have to get compliant, stay compliant. Where are you at with your paving? I see in the package you have bids for the paving contractors. Obviously, I know they're not doing that yet, but have you selected one of those for?
I have, but I'm working on financing it for the parking lot.
And is that going well, or can you give us an update of where that is?
I have an application that I have to submit to the regional business fund for my parking lot, otherwise I'll have to tap out finance.
My summary comment are the things that you can control, you need to control fast. Okay? The dumpsters, the racking, the things that have been talked about.
Sure.
And you need to show continuous improvement that you will be in compliance on these other conditions, because that was an approval of your site plan. But those are my comments.
Is it feasible that you can get the dumpster, that you put the transmissions removed before the holiday break?
Before we talk,
The upcoming holiday break
the
here?
transmissions are already removed, so they're in the dumpster waiting to be picked up.
That dumpster
We
needs to
put
go, right?
We loaded the transmission before this last snowstorm we had, so we're just waiting for them to pick up everything else. We got the dumpster. It's already loaded, so there are any transmissions on the way.
Okay, so
And if Waste Management comes and picks up the dumpsters, then there won't be that, and the rack is not very long.
do you need another dumpster to put the rack in?
No.
Okay. So I'm just asking, is it reasonable for us to expect that the rack and the dumpster can be removed before Memorial Day holiday?
Which is what they, sorry.
I don't have a calendar.
Maybe 29th.
20.
Yes, correct.
And we're closed on Friday, so I want it to be the Thursday before that, or the day before that. Let's pick a date, give you a solid date.
It's basically 2 weeks, it'll be May 21st. It'll be Thursday before Memorial.
Do you think they'll pick it up in 2 weeks?
I hope so.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. Subject to a vote, of course. But if you have a problem with waste management, not being able to meet that deadline, I want you to contact us as soon as possible. Just stop in. Amanda's pleasant, Nick's pleasant. Just tell them. And that rack, if that can be done by the 21st, or 21st, and you think that's doable, we're going to hold you to that, okay? It's just so the expectations are clear. I think on this one, we should take a vote so I'll make a motion to have the owner of Soobie Surgeons have the dumpsters removed and the rack removed by the 21st of May. And if he is experiencing any problems, please to notify town staff of any potential delays or problems.
Mr. Chairman, would you mind also including any junk that's laying around in this one picture that I'm looking at that looks like siding or trim?
Let's address that with a separate motion. Let's take care of what we've told them in the letter first.
I'll second that motion and bring it to the floor.
All right.
So we can discuss it.
Yes, okay, so motion by me, second by Mr. Jordan. Let's have some discussion. What would you like to say?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm new to this process and I'm new to this board, but, you know, a promise made is a promise kept. I'm reading Mr. Werner's letter, and he said that he will have the transmissions and items removed by 3/16. Now we're talking about May 21st. Right? I asked about the paving. You said you're in the process of trying to get financing for that, I believe is what I heard. So that leaves us with the screening and the fencing. Do you have a fencing contractor, or what you're going to do on that? Because your letter says 6/15, which is really 30 days away from now.
My sons are finishing school this week, and so they're going to help me put that up.
You haven't put the fence up this weekend.
You know, they're finishing school this week, and I'll put the fence up by the deadline of this letter.
So you've engaged those people then on your fence?
What's my children, my two
Your
sons.
children?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's not even going to add to your amendment. Since we don't get into May 21st on the racks and June 25th on the fence. I think for all the dollars, I think we could come up with a plan here that should work.
And I just want to take this one step at a time. So addressing the two deficiencies is what I put in the first motion. We can certainly do more motions. I see Susan's point. You know, I looked at the photos. You know, there's a stack of pallets, and there are people that will take pallets for free if you put it on Facebook. Trust me. You know, there's things you can do to make that property so that you don't have to have people complain, which would be better for you and better for us. So, but is there any further discussion on the motion at hand? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion made by me, seconded by Don, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. All right, now we can address some of the other concerns that anybody may have with what we see in the photos or otherwise.
I would like to see all the trash. I don't care if it's this sheets of siding, sheets of trim that I see in front of vehicles, in the grass, the pallets, anything obstructive like that that's just laying on the ground. I would like that immediately removed. All of these things your neighbors are seeing. And actually it's a trip hazard as well. So, you know, for your employees and people coming in, trip hazards are a serious thing.
I also see you have an IBC tote out there. That's fine. I'm assuming you use that to put water or liquids or something in this. If you're using that, that's fine. But if you've got a stack of pallets and you got too many of them, I go through pallets like crazy, and there literally are people that will take them because they'll make wood or whatever they do on them, or recycle them. So, you know, get on Facebook, put those out there, people will come take them, literally. So, I don't think it's unreasonable. Do you think we're being unreasonable by asking to pick up some of the random refuse? Okay. All right. So, how do we do this? We treat your request as a motion. Well, I think you were trying to move that the owner of the property will remove garbage, pallets, and other items to clean up his property by the same date, May 21st. That's kind of what I heard you say. Is that your motion, Susan?
That would be my motion.
Okay, very good. I'll second your motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries 3-0. Let me just wrap up, sir, with one thing. We don't want to be in the business of getting in your business. That is not why we're here. But we also have an obligation to those who say, hey, there's a problem. So let's continue to work together. If there is a problem you're having, just let us know. And then we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right? Is that something we can agree on?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving on. All right. discussion action to authorize expenditure of Brunswick Park budget for paint and materials for park buildings.
That would be me.
We know who you are, you better sign the paper.
State your name, please.
All right. I'm just here to let you know that the new roof was put on the pavilion, around the concession stand. And on the sunny side of the outstanding, we get a chance to take a look at it. And I'm requesting to get funding for paint to redo the door on the facility to match that unlimited color.
All right, I think I got before the meeting, I got an estimate of around $112.07.
Yes.
Any other requests?
No, unless, I had mentioned to John when I was cleaning the park, I did notice some other shingles. The buildings are covered with just old shingles, so I'm not sure if we need to contact someone about looking at that.
Well, what we have to authorize is expenditure of money in a meeting, so, Don, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the request for paint to upgrade our doors in the recreational building.
In an amount not to exceed, say, $125?
$120.
All right, very good. I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the request and the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Scott, and thanks for the update on the, just in case it wasn't heard real loud, I think that the new roof is on and looks good, so. All right. Discussion action to amend and adopt the Animal Control Services contract with Darrell Hall. I don't see Darrell here. In our books, looks like he had kind of given us an inquiry as to a response to why he's requesting the hourly rate change. I just have one clarification. So I think we authorized a rate increase, but not the one he requested. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. So back in February or March, and this first came in January, you authorized me to talk to him and set amount going up. I think it was half of the request, and he denied and cited these are the reasons why. For whatever reason, it was missed on April or something. So that's on me, but I know right now he's technically operating without a contract, and he's just wondering if we could shore that up the next meeting here.
All right, so he still wants his original request.
Correct.
And he's not going to do it if we don't pay him.
I would say that's probably correct.
Sure. I just want to interject because I've had some conversations with him. There is one other animal control group in the area that charges more than he does, obviously, and so he's thinking his request is not unreasonable. I know it's been quite a while since he's had any increases in. So in the terms of trying to keep our animal control going, I would recommend move forward with his increase.
Well, and we have had some catch up for some other, I know we had our annual town meeting where we talked about some things falling a little bit behind schedule, so this probably sounds in that. I think the consensus last time was just simply that if we went to his request all the way, it was a pretty high percentage increase. Is it going to break our budget? By no means, no. And, you know, if the town is, if you're saying that the town's options are probably going to be more expensive for animal control, then, well, we need an animal control officer, obviously, because we get complaints every month. So, Susan, you got a motion?
Yes, I would make a motion to amend Darrell Hall, the Animal Control Service contract, to the rate that he was requesting.
And to enter the contract, correct?
Yes, to amend his contract, yes.
Everybody understand the motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Discussion action on ordinance to amend and restate Chapter 105, Section 14.2 of the Municipal Code. Madam Clerk, I'm not sure what's the genesis of how this got on?
So I'll take this one. I put this on, this was somehow mixed into last month, so we had all the fire codes that were changing. When I sent them off the general code to be codified, I saw that this one was in there, and I think it was something that was missed. So it's, everything's been outlined that we've already talked about, we never went through the motion of adopting it, to my understanding.
I thought we did. In fact, my recollection was pretty specific that we needed to just simply submit what is now in our packet because we had some deadlines that we were up against with, say, other entities and whatnot. And I thought, at least from my recollection, the board approved the overlay, which is, here, I'll even go to the right page here. When we're talking about the code, what we voted on and adopted was on the last page of under section G, the prohibited uses section. And that we did approve word for word by a vote. So all that needs to be done is this needs to just go to the codification people. So I don't think we need any action because every bit of this ordinance has already been enacted.
Okay, and that's my miss.
No, that's totally fine. And I just wanted to clarify that right off the bat.
Yeah, there's nothing new with it. It was, I just thought we didn't have that, but we probably did. We were in the swing of election, so.
Very
It was
good.
all over the place.
All right, so let's direct the clerk to go ahead and send this off so it gets codified as soon as humanly possible. This is one that we really do need updated.
Well, we can have the effective date of adoption backdated, the published.
Right, so check the minutes when we adopted these, and specifically the prohibited uses. That meeting was the last one that this ordinance has been amended. So we did the public hearings, we did everything right, so let's use that date of the meeting. Discussion action on updating operator license fees.
That's kind of mixed for me too.
So if you look through our code and chapters section at 52-4A, it says operator license, up to 2 years, we should make it $30 per year or a total of $60 for 2 years. It's been $30 since June of 2010. And when I was doing some research when operator license first started coming through on my computer, it did state $60 on one of the forms. I went back to try to find minutes, couldn't find anything. Talked to Supervisor Blank and Osterling, and they said it would be a great idea to change this.
So basically, it's the same cost per year, it's just we're gonna collect $60 for a 2-year period.
Correct.
Is that the only change?
Correct.
All right. Well, while we're on this topic, I like the fact that you have identified something like that. I think what we learned tonight is that we have also identified, if it's a non-refundable driveway permit, just the rule should be we collect the fees, we can hold on to the check until, we can work around, but we have to collect the fees up front. So that's one thing we got to do, just to be clear. I think this is a great catch. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear that it's $30 per year, and so a 2-year is $60, so they don't think they're getting,
Right.
yes, I just want to clear.
Okay. Were you tutor on the operator licenses?
Yes.
Okay. For this change?
I wanted to see this change and the ruling earlier. I'm not quite sure if that was one of my people or not.
Okay.
It wasn't.
It was not. Oh, okay.
I just saw you there and thought maybe you were here for this item.
It's been a few months, so I figured I'd get a little refresh.
Okay, very good.
Also, one of us had to work all day, so I have our paperwork for 3
every 2 years.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Communications and items for future agendas. Well, we have the one we talked about. We should also put Soobie Surgeons back on so that we have some oversight. Any other ideas for agenda items for today? Otherwise, we can talk to Amanda.
Just want to make sure before we get too far away that this is the correct one for the amendment there, for the ordinance. Sorry to jump out of the way.
Yes, that's correct.
Just didn't want to miss the opportunity while you're over here right now, so. Well,
You know, Supervisor Barzal, at our previous meeting, asked to have reviews of some of the compensation for planning commission, board adjustments, et cetera, other commissions, to review that as well, so that should be a future.
Yes, that's a good point. We have to appoint all of our, or reappoint all of our commission members and so that should go on the next agenda to all of the appointed positions.
There was also a recommendation by SEH Engineering that right now we really don't have a liaison on the board for the planning commission, but we should have a true supervisor overseeing that to give updates and reports back to the board as well. That was a consideration.
they can be the chair.
It could be. All right. I know what I was going to mention. I got stuck in a jury trial for the date of the Chamber's local leaders presentation. I know that we have 2 board members gone as well. Do either of you have interest in representing the town? All right, 'cause I know I can't make it. It's unfortunately the case is going to trial. So
It's not that bad. I get this is the 12th. I think it's,
yeah,
I can't.
you can't be there, Susan. You can't be there.
As a follow-up to that, do we know when Supervisor Barzal or Foster will be back for open book?
They won't be here for open book, but Fosterling will be back for the board review.
Board review.
Yes.
That's the one we need.
That's when we need the quorum, right? So we should be good there. Well, I will just simply respond then and say that no one's available for the town. It's not for lack of trying, it's just, it doesn't work very well. So I'll do it again next week. So.
This isn't to be on the agenda necessarily, but in my notes, I've got in here for roads that we need to take care of the knotweed. And I believe you had an area that you thought was knotweed besides Scott Road. So I would like to get together with you to find out that area and then have our parks person get us that special number for the person to control that,
Yes,
that weed, that knotweed.
absolutely, we can do that.
Okay. And an update, the seniors did find a place to have their meetings. I heard that they're meeting at the Green Mill.
All right, well, I think that concludes the agenda. Do we have a motion to
I
adjourn?
have 2 quick things just to think about.
Okay.
I just brought up to Amanda about the AV capture-all and the audio, the mics, since a resident did bring it up too. I kind of showed her some of that, but I can help go through that. And I know the last time we talked about it, it was to get Tim's input on a camera. You've also talked about another camera to eventually replace that. It's just something to consider. Maybe if we can get some quotes from Tim or some input on what a reasonable expense would be, just to consider that. If that can be done by the June meeting, I think it'd be really helpful having sat and reviewed so many meetings. The audio is awful.
I agree.
And I would think maybe part of that too could be his recommendation, maybe Steve too, but soundproofing in here, just getting some sound pads to dampen the echo, that might take care of a lot of it, but also these die really quick.
I hate these things. I absolutely hate these microphones. They're a pain, they don't stay on. I'd rather have hardwired that we remove during elections than this. I mean, this is ridiculous that people can't hear us.
Yep.
So, agreed. Let's put that on the agenda, AV, update, quotes, whatever. That's got to be a priority. If people can't hear us, there's no point. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move